Okay, so we've got this pile of headlines fresh from daily global news.
Yeah.
And seems like the world's pretty active today.
Lots going on.
We got everything from UFOs over U.S. airspace to potential ceasefires and some kind of like power shifts in the Middle East.
Interesting.
And,
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran is apparently off on some kind of historic adventure.
I saw that one.
So should we just jump in?
Let's dive in.
All right. Let's start with those mysterious lights over Capitol Hill.
All right.
I got to say, I saw those images online.
Yeah.
And it was kind of creepy.
Really?
It felt like straight out of the X-Files.
I can see that.
But
yeah.
Before we start talking about alien invasions,
right?
What's the
more realistic,
less sensational explanation?
Well, so a ufologist, John Greenwald Jr. Pointed out that lens flares from cameras can create very similar effects to what people are seeing in these photos.
So it's just a trick of the light?
Potentially. Yeah, it could very well be.
But it's still kind of interesting that this is happening now.
Right.
Right, with all the stuff about UFOs.
With the congressional hearings and everything.
And it feels like people are more and more fascinated by the unknown these days.
It definitely speaks to our desire to understand our place in the universe.
Yeah.
And whether we're truly alone out there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's switch gears to something.
Okay.
A little more down to earth.
Sure.
But no less significant.
Yeah.
Zelenskyy. Hinting at a possible ceasefire in Ukraine. He's talking about acknowledging Russian control over occupied territories.
Wow.
In exchange for NATO security guarantees for the rest of Ukraine.
Interesting.
This feels like a major turning point.
It is a high-stakes move for sure.
So is he playing a weak hand cleverly here?
Well, he's essentially saying we'll concede territory now.
Is this a sign of desperation?
For the promise of security later. The question is, can he trust those guarantees?
It's a good point.
And what happens to the millions of Ukrainians living in those occupied areas?
Right.
Yeah. It's a tough situation.
Yeah, it sounds like a long game strategy.
Yeah.
But is it realistic?
Well, that's what makes this so fascinating.
Given how entrenched both sides seem.
Zelensky's under immense pressure.
Yeah.
Both domestically and internationally.
Sure.
This proposal could be a way to buy time, regroup, and potentially rebuild with Western support. Yeah.
And what about the implications of NATO security guarantees?
Well, that's a red line for Russia, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of Russia's stated goals was to prevent NATO expansion.
Right.
So agreeing to security guarantees for Ukraine would be a significant concession.
It really makes you wonder. What's going on?
It makes you think.
Behind the scenes.
A lot of moving pieces.
Yeah. So speaking of power plays and strategic messaging, Hezbollah's leader is declaring a great victory following the ceasefire with Israel.
Interesting.
He's even saying they prevented their own destruction.
Wow.
So what's their
remember, Hezbollah portrays itself as a resistance movement, fighting against Israeli aggression. Their narrative hinges on survival and defiance.
Sure.
So this declaration reinforces that image, even if their actual military gains are debatable.
So it's about projecting strength and resilience.
Exactly.
Even if they
want to show their supporters and the world
didn't achieve all their objectives.
That they're not going anywhere.
Right.
Yep.
It's a reminder of how different perspectives shape our understanding of events.
Yeah.
Especially in
every player has their own narrative.
Such complex conflicts.
And their own interpretation of what constitutes a win.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we get back into the heavy stuff, let's look at something a little lighter.
Okay.
Ed Sheeran is making history as the first major international artist to perform in Bhutan.
That's pretty cool.
Which is pretty different from his usual stadium gigs.
Definitely a change of pace.
Yeah. So this concert at Changlamathang Stadium in Thimphu on January 24th will be a fascinating cultural exchange.
It really will be.
You know, it makes me think about the power of music to like bridge cultures and create connections.
Right.
In even the most unexpected places.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even amidst global conflicts and uncertainties, there's still room for art and shared experiences.
Yeah. That's a really nice thought. But sadly, our next story brings us back to a darker reality.
All right.
The Syrian military is confirming a devastating rebel attack.
Oh, wow.
That killed dozens of its soldiers.
That's terrible.
And now the rebels have entered Aleppo.
Really?
This feels like
it's deeply warning.
Significant escalation.
Yeah, this attack highlights the fact that the Syrian civil war is far from over.
Yeah.
The rebels gaining a foothold in Aleppo, a strategic city, could shift the balance of power.
The Syrian military is talking about redeploying troops to strengthen their defenses.
Okay.
So what kind of ripple effects could this have?
Well, it's difficult to say with certainty.
On the region.
But this escalation could draw in other actors, further destabilizing the region.
Yeah.
The situation's incredibly fragile.
A stark reminder that even as some conflicts seem to be moving towards resolution, others continue to rage.
It really underscores.
With devastating consequences.
The interconnectedness of global events. And the challenges of achieving lasting peace.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From unexplained lights over the U.S. Capitol to a potential ceasefire in Ukraine, the complexities of the Middle East, and the stark realities of the ongoing conflict in Syria.
Syrian civil war.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the state of the world.
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day headlines.
Yeah.
But taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture reveals just how interconnected everything is.
Exactly. And that's what we try to do here.
That's right.
On the Deep Dive.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
On this journey through the headlines.
Always a pleasure.
And until next time. Keep exploring.
Keep diving deep.
Keep questioning.
That's right.
And keep diving deep.
Yeah. See you next time.